Yo, what is up? It's your boy, J&W Boss in the building. We're going to do this brief little series known as Behind the Action, going over all ACW lore. Well, you're probably wondering how in the world can you have lore when you're only about 4 or so episodes in? Easy. This is a culmination of all-out action and all-out revolution merged together. Merged together is what you're getting here with ACW. So instead of talking about it, I'm going to show it to you guys. Man, we're going to have some fun going on championship reign for both shows and several key moments and character moments and stuff from all out action and all out revolution history. So without further ado, let's kick things off with how it all started with the AOA Tag Team Championships. Now, the first ever AOA Tag Team Champions were Wolfpack with a C because I couldn't spell or I tried to be different. Well, either way, y'all wouldn't have known it had I not shown it to you, right? So if anyone asks, know it's spelled with a K, right? Right? Anyways, moving on. These were all the teams that they beat right here. And so we decided to go with the first ever defense and the first ever program for these guys being the team of Young Lee and Tenshi, known as the Age of Persuasion. And this started off halfway decent. Wolfpack ended up having a match against the Revival on the very first episode of All Out Action, with them picking up the win, and Young Lee and Tenshi following up with the attack after the matchup. And then fast forwarding to AOA Episode 3, because who needs continuity in storylines? Wolfpack ended up taking on the team of Reaper and Forsaken, formerly known as Demon at that time, and for the sake of the video, I will just call him Forsaken the rest of the video. And they ended up losing to these guys. Wait a second, what? So, let me get this straight. I have my tag team champion. They win a tournament. They win their first match. They don't show up on episode 2, and then they lose. You learn and you grow, ladies and gentlemen. You learn and you grow. Moving on to AOA Episode 4, it is Tenshi versus Seth Byrne in singles action, one half of the Tag Team Champions. Seth Byrne ended up picking up the win and then attacking Young Lee and Tenshi after the match. Fast forward to AOA Most Wanted, where the Tag Team title match took place, and Wolfpack ended up picking up the win and probably a decent matchup. And ladies and gentlemen, that will conclude the first ever program for the AOA Tag Team Championships. I'm just happy that it gets better from here. So, one challenger down. Who's next for Wolfpack? Wait a second. Why in the world are they facing the Ascension on AOA Episode 7? Okay, I mean, at least they won the thing, and the Ascension looked halfway decent. But why did that match even... Okay, who's after them? Okay, it seems that they face the club. Alright, that's all well and good, but this road to get in this match was a little weird because Sean Wright debut took on Finn Balor. Finn Balor wins that matchup. He's revealed that the club is in the house with AJ, Gallows, and Anderson. DLC came out around that time and wanted to make the most of it. Anyways, this ended up leading to numerous matches between Sean Wright taking on different members of the club, and this eventually led to a 6-man tag where it was Sean Wright teaming with the team of Reaper and Forsaken to take on all 3 members of the club, where the winner would get a tag team title shot against Wolfpack later on in the evening. More than likely because it probably didn't have #1 contenders in place. Oh, and then what makes it better that the only interaction Wolfpack had with this whole thing was Alexander Spike making the save for Sean Wright at the behest of the club attacking him. Makes a lot of sense to me. Doesn't really make a whole lot of sense to the fact that the club won the 6-man tag and then later on beat Wolfpack for the tag team title. But yeah, in AOA canon, the club are AOA Tag Team Champions. Why, I don't know. But let's see how their reign goes. Maybe the reign gets a little bit better. Okay, and it's starting out good so far. They do defeat Wolfpack on the following AOA episode in a rematch for the Tag Team Championship. And then on AOA episode 11, you see the Age of Persuasion qualify, Young Lee and Tenshi qualify for a #1 contender match at Last Stand for the AOA Tag Team Championship by defeating Wolfpack inside of a steel cage. Wait a second, pause again. Why are Wolfpack in a steel cage match for the #1 contendership for the tag team titles when they literally just lost the tag team titles and then lost the rematch to them? Okay. Fast forward to last stand, it's the club versus the team of Young Lee and Tenshi. The club pick up the win and retaining their tag team title. Okay, well, for the first time, we have some logical storyline and logical storytelling within this whole thing. So let's see what happens next. Oh, right. So literally the following episode, they lose the tag team championship, and this whole thing pretty much plays like WCW in the mid-2000s, so bear with me here. Nate Shields ended up attacking the Ice in the early stages of the show, and then he ended up taking over the show for himself, and because of that, he makes 2 matches. Number 1, and the one that we're going to focus on for this match is himself and Monster versus the club for the AOA Tag Team Championships, in which they were victorious. Okay, you know what? Never mind. On paper, this may actually be pretty cool. I mean, think about it. At this time, Monster was the AOA World Champion, and by this point, that made him the only man to hold 2 championships in All Out Action at one given time. And Nate Shields comes in, makes a pretty big impact, and literally, first match in, is the Tag Team Champion. That's great. And wait a minute, the reign actually doesn't get a chance to fully develop because the Ice shows up at the very end of the show, and he does 2 things. And the one that we're going to focus on for this is make the Tag Team Championships vacant. But don't worry, we at least have a plan for how we're going to get around that because he signed a gauntlet match for literally the next pay-per-view at Next Level. And the winner will be the brand new AOA Tag Team Champion. And so you're probably wondering, this is the part of the video where you go over all the teams and their proper qualifying matches, right? Yeah, that kind of doesn't happen because the team technically weren't qualified in. They were kind of just announced. Guys, I was learning, okay? I was learning. I was trying to figure everything out. I was trying, okay? I was trying my best. But in the bright news is, Young Lee and Tenshi ends up winning the Tag Team Championship as Reaper ends up walking out on Forsaken. I really wonder what happened to those 2.
Wait a minute, oh my gosh!
Check this out, oh! Yeah, we're going to cover that in his own video. And with that being said, it is now Young Lee and Tenshi's turn to finally reign with the Tag Team Championships after 2 previously failed attempts. And so the next opponent is set to be Richie Rich and Jay. Okay, never mind. It's apparently not going to be that, as it's going to be Wolfpack. Because apparently the Ice felt that a couple of punches and stomps were enough to count as unsportsmanlike conduct. Never mind the fact we thought every other worst thing happened by this point. Who needs logic, am I right? So it ends up being Wolfpack again facing Young Lee and Tenshi for the tag team titles, and Wolfpack gets the win here. Alright, cool. Championship reign number 2 for Wolfpack. It doesn't sound like a bad idea on paper, and hopefully, at this point, they actually get some quality wins and quality matches under the belt, and they might be alright. Except I missed one golden opportunity to do so, and for some dumb reason they did not defend the championship at one of AOA's biggest shows of the year in Breaking Boundary Season 1. However, I immediately made up for it the following episode by having them face the Hardy Boys. Again, DLC just came out. Make the most of the dang thing. And after the match against the Hardy Boys, we were in the build towards World Collide with XTV, so they ended up on that pay-per-view in a outing against the team of British Airways, the team of B-Boy and Sketch. They lost, but it's all well and good. So these 2 looking to rebound from that have a tag team title defense against Weapons of Mass Destruction, who by this point have beat Wolfpack a couple of times. And how did this one end?
Watch. Production guy got the replay. Watch this. 1, 2, 3 count.
No, but see? Title belt on the 2 count.
Wait a minute, hold on.
Yes, it ends with a little bit of controversy. And so because of that, this sets up the rematch between those 2 teams at AOA Dead on Arrival pay-per-view, in which it is no champion's advantage. And by this point, Mr. Pac-Man has joined the series. Such a highlight for them. And then Weapon of Mass Destruction was on a roll. And they got this rematch here for the AOA Tag Team Championships that dead on arrival, in which Weapon of Mass Destruction ended up picking up the victory, thus becoming the Tag Team Champion for the very, very first time. And so after this reign here, things kind of start to look up for the Tag Team division as a whole. Partly, I think, and due to not only what Weapons of Mass Destruction were doing, but Pac-Man cutting their promos. I think it worked out for them. And so their first defense comes at Mission X as they were taking on Reaper and a debut in Lucian. As Reaper took part in this winner's choice fatal 4-way when, well, if you got eliminated first from the match, you got nothing. If you got eliminated second, you earned a shot at the tag title. Second place was a shot of the All-Star title, and first place was a shot of the world title. We will be coming back to this matchup a couple of times throughout the courses of these videos. But the problem is Reaper had to go find a partner because, yeah, he kind of did that to his previous one. Enter the debut in Lucian to take on Weapon of Mass Destruction, and this match actually went pretty well for Weapon of Mass Destruction as they ended up picking up the victory, and it was after that match that led to the return of Forsaken, which picked up on their little rivalry that they had going at the time. And then after this led to another matchup between Weapon of Mass Destruction and Wolfpack, as the challenge was made to this time meet in a 2 out of 3 falls match, and Weapons of Mass Destruction ended up actually losing this matchup as Wolfpack was very clever and got a count out fall in this 2 out of 3 falls match, thus making them the tag team champions as the score was tied 1-1 by that point in time. So this is reign number 3 for Wolfpack, and so by this point, tag team division starting to look up a bit. You have the Weapons of Mass Destruction doing their thing. You have the whole feud with them and Wolfpack. Everything with Reaper was kind of cool. Then you have the Twisted Disciples who were starting to become building up at this point. And so now you got reign number 3 for Wolfpack as the tag team champions, who were healed by this point as well. Alright, so let's see how further this goes. Okay, safe to say we kind of played a little bit of hot potato here, because the next defense was against Weapons of Mass Destruction for the AOA Tag Team Championships, and it was inside of a steel cage, and Weapons of Mass Destruction kind of beat them for the belt. It was their final match in their rivalry, so I think it worked. It was their final match in their rivalry, so I think it paid off pretty good. I mean, think about it. You go from a controversial finish to the challenger finally getting the belt back to the heel cheating to get the belt back, and now in the final match, the faces win. Sounds like a pretty good tag rivalry to me. All right, so let's see if they can hold the tag title to the end of the... Oh, right. So there's a bit of a backstory here. So around the time the World Collide pay-per-view was starting, was a thing. The New World Nation was also a faction. The faction was led by King Kong, and 2 of its members were Nate Shield and Dwayne Frost. It also had a lot of other members such as Monster, Tars, Aaron, Johnny, Holo, a few other people as well. And by this point, they already kind of destroyed the Ice Cars, so the Ice decided to make a challenge to the New World Nation to meet their team, to meet 3v3 in a tables, ladders, and chairs match. With the stipulation being that if the New World Nation ends up winning, Nate Shield and Dwayne Frost are signed to NXT on the spot. However, if they lose, then, well, they are fired. Well, in the week prior to that, the Twisted Disciples beat the brakes off of Nate Shield and Dwayne Frost, and so Nate kind of talked the Ice into them getting a #1 contenders match. And in the process, the Ice kind of gave in, and so not only did Nate Shield and Dwayne Frost have to compete in that TLC match, they also earned a shot at the tag team title. So they won the TLC match, which meant they were going to NXT on the spot. And then later on that episode, or later on that pay-per-view, they won the AOA Tag Team Championships and thus closed out season 1 as the AOA Tag Team Champion. And safe to say, the tag team title went on a bit of a ride throughout this whole season, especially booking-wise, not knowing what the world to do and how to do this, and trying to figure things out on the fly. But if you ask me, by the time things got to Wolfpack's second reign and everything they did with Weapons of Mass Destruction, I thought the tag team division was going pretty good. And then, especially with how we ended it, with Dwayne Frost and Nate Shields as the tag team champions, things were on the up and up. Then life kind of happened, so we had to switch a couple of things. So instead, Nate Shields and Dwayne Frost enter All Out Revolution with the tag team titles. And since they could not go to All Out Action due to contractual reasons as part of that TLC match, their first defense actually came at the All Out Revolution pay-per-view Onslaught, when they ended up taking on the team of Johnny Evil and Simon Ortiz, better known as Top Class Warriors or the Black Assassins if you're going by their tag team name. And so, to make a long story short, Johnny Evil and Simon Ortiz pick up the win, and they would then hold the tag team championship until the Action draft, because after that matchup, the Ice and Christina Miller set up a cross-branded tournament to crown the #1 contender for the tag team championship. The two finalists were the Two Squad Up and the Twisted Disciples. Twisted Disciples won the match, and then they ended up defeating the team of Johnny Evil and Simon Ortiz at the Action draft, and then went on to End of an Era to unify those tag team championships with the Millennium Riders, and thus they are now the ACW Tag Team Champions. And if you ask me, toward the tail end, the Tag Team Championship started to be a little bit interesting. I mean, you couldn't have too many defenses due to the stipulations that were put in place, and I maybe could have found some workarounds to make it happen. But all in all, I think it got to a pretty good point. It got to a point where you could say the tag team division was actually good. And now we're going to see what the Twisted Disciples can do with the ACW Tag Team Champions. So ladies and gentlemen, I hope you enjoyed this first ever video of After the Action, or Behind the Action, I should say. And if you enjoyed, feel free to click the like, comment, and subscribe, and also click the bell icon, that way you don't miss another upload. Till next time I see you, I'm Be a Boss, and I will holla at you guys later.